Welcome to the Tom Galicchio Tomcast. Today we have our special guest for our fourth episode. We got the man himself, the Menifee Maniac, Fernando Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, Fernando.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure to have you on. You know, this is an honor to me. Since I moved out to Quest, Fernando was one of my first friends, and he was a fighter I could always relate to. You've went through ups and downs throughout this career, and you've been doing this for a really, really long time. How long have you been fighting for, Fernando?
My first fight was at 19. 32 now.
32. So you started about 2004?
Yeah.
Was it boxing, kickboxing, or MMA?
It was MMA. I did actually boxing before. It was when I was a kid growing up. I was about 5 or 6, going all the way up to high school. I was boxing, and then I just stopped for high school and stuff like that.
Was it amateur boxing with the headgear, or?
Yeah, amateur boxing.
Nice. That's rough. That's rough to get hit on the head so young. Where did you start out? Let's talk about that. Where'd you start out with your boxing career?
I started off in Paris. One of the coaches that I had out of there, it was his name was Ernie. He was the first person that kind of showed us the footwork and everything. But my first person that actually started showing me boxing was my brother, who corners me now and everything. You know, we all corner.
Yeah, we got quite the trio going. We got Isaiah for stand-up and the MMA. Yeah. I covered the grappling. Yeah. And Tristan is there to make sure we're speaking Spanish. Really knows his brother, and he's knowledgeable. Tristan's pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah, well, and he's very knowledgeable of me. You know what I mean? He knows my style very well. So it's like anything that I've done, he's either showed me or helped me with some of that stuff. So it's like he already kind of knows a lot of the setups that we do, you know. So he knows some of the openings that are going to be there that other guys won't know just because my style's a little weird. So just going back and forth, you know, switching stances changes it. And he already knows that style because we both kind of, you know, grew up that way and working that. So I think he helps me a lot with little.
Yeah, things, absolutely. You know? He's a good cornerman. I like Tristan. Tristan's a good guy, first of all. I like him. I've personally been honored to really get to know your family, and it's been a heck of a ride. Now, were you born in the United States, or were you born in Mexico?
No, I was born in Escondido.
Escondido, okay.
Yeah, I was born in Escondido. My parents are from Mexico.
I understand you got quite the following in Mexico.
Yeah, we got it. Well, we have a lot of family and everything. I'm Mexican, you know what I mean? So
like hardcore.
Like the way it's funny because all my family and friends that would come out to see where we grew up, they're like, "Dude, you got your own little fucking Mexico right here." It's
you like little
family.
Mexico?
Yeah, it's like nothing but family, and then we had like a creek, so it was like we always just. You know, we're wild and shit, so we're playing in the creek and stuff. So, and
that's in Escondido, California, right? Or
that's in Menifee, but no, I was born in Escondido. Okay. But we moved out this way towards as soon as I was born, we were already living in Temecula, and then from there, we moved out to Menifee.
Now, your first MMA gym was it Team Quest? Was it?
No, my first gym was Outcast Fight Team. Was where I teach out of now, which in Canyon Lake.
Oh, no kidding.
That was the person that got me started with Steve Herman, and from there I met Art Santor.
Nice.
And he was training with Dan, but they used to sponsor Art, so it was like I met all these guys through Outcast because they're basically like the main competitor against Tap Out. So they would sponsor a lot of like really good athletes. Javier Vasquez.
Okay.
I got to train with him through them.
Oh yeah, he's a badass.
And then I got to train with Thomas Kenny. He was the first jiu-jitsu guy that I did.
I remember Thomas Kenny. His record's kind of like a little bit above 500 or it's 2-1, but there's a ton of fights. Yeah, he's like a local legend around here, you would say.
Yeah, he's been fighting a long time, and
I think he still fights.
I think so. Yeah. So, but he was for like the first 2 weeks that I started doing jiu-jitsu, I was with him, and then he got into the guy that I got in a fight with later on. they were just having he was another fighter, Joe Curley, and those guys, that fool was just crazy. You know, he liked to scrap and everything. So
Thomas Kenny or both of them?
Thomas was trying to show the class. So he's
okay.
I'm going to teach the class, and then fucking Joe was like, he just wanted to fight, so he's like, "Fuck this jiu-jitsu shit," and
it's not punching, right?
Yeah. So they were just beefing, and fucking he ended up taking off. He was like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna fight."
And that's why I haven't heard of Joe Curley, because he's just
he ended up stopping, but at the time he was like a big up and comer in King of the Cage, yeah. But we both kind of started around the same time. But he was a good fighter. He really was a really good fighter. He just never really got into the jiu-jitsu part of it. You know, he never wanted to learn that part, so I kind of hurt him.
Yeah, you really can't go far in this game without jiu-jitsu.
Without it, yeah.
You know, that's one of the things you got to know how to do, I feel like, because or else I'd say the most successful person without jiu-jitsu or any form of grappling would be like a Melvin Manhoef.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody else knows how to grapple. He's like kind of the last of the Mohicans with just being a pure striker.
Yeah, but that's because he can bang, but, you know, and like anybody just would be like, fuck, I just got to touch his chin. You know, that's...
And it's wearing out over the years, I think, with him. And, you know, he's one of my favorite fighters, too. He's so exciting. He always brings it. He's with Bellator.
Was sick.
Who? I'm sorry.
That fight with Lawler.
Oh, yeah, that was a sick fight. Yeah. I thought he was going to win.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a sick fight.
Crazy.
He's with Bellator now, right?
Yeah.
Now, those of you who don't know this, but Fernando Gonzalez is in the top 30 in the world in middleweight, and he's done that by the way of Bellator. He signed with Bellator, and he's put on an impressive 4-fight MMA winning streak, and against tough competition. Let's go through the beginning. Let's talk about Carl Almasu.
The fight with Carl Almasu, we had actually trained. I'm not sure if you were out here at the time when he came out. He was training with us for almost a year. He was training with us, so I got to spar with him a lot.
No kidding.
Yeah, a lot. And that's when we were at 185. So even then, we're like, shit, we might end up meeting each other. And that was like one of the things that like it was one of those fights I always knew that might happen. And then later on, and then even again, it happened. Like we were both training out for the Ultimate Fighter when we both dropped to 170.
He was at the last tryouts too.
And I went there and he was there and I was like, we're the first people in line. I'm like, oh shit. Like, I was like, well, fuck, we're going to end up fighting one day.
One day we're going to end up scrapping.
And then I was right around the time I was really struggling with getting fights and you know, I was thinking about, you know, kind of retiring or whatever.
The constant battle of an MMA fighter. The downs are rough, man. The downs are rough.
Yeah, shitty.
Yeah, they're really shitty because it's your own little mental dungeon.
You gotta get out of it, yeah. But after that, Steve, same guy, man. He's helped me throughout my career a lot. But Steve bought me the ticket to go and get my to go to the fights at Bellator.
Nice.
And so when I went up there, he's like, "Hey, let's go talk to these guys and get you in here," you know. So I went up to BR Revney and we just walked up to him at one of the breaks. So he was kind of like in shock, like, "Oh shit!" Like
fighters approach
this guy just walked up to me, and I was like, "Hey, you know, I've been fighting a long time. You know, can you please give me a shot? Anybody you think that's gonna kick my ass, that's who I want, and I'll prove it to you that I belong here." And you know, obviously, I can sell a lot of tickets too. I'm a local guy, so you know, I had to throw that in there too. I was like, "Yeah, I can sell 150 plus." You know, especially if it's a Bellator event, you know, and
especially at Pachanga.
Yeah, and at Pachanga, so it's right in our backyard. So that's kind of how I went about it, and he said, you know, talk to
Sam Kaplan, right? Probably.
No, it was
or Christian.
No, freaking. What's the one that cornered Rampage?
I know who you're talking about. Zach Light.
Zach Light, yeah, Zach. And so Sorry, Zach, if you watch this, my bad.
Yeah. I don't think he's watching you.
Well, because we used to train together, you know. So he used to train at Quest too, and then so he told me, hey, talk to Zach, gave me his email, you know. Just let him know that I said, yeah, I'll get you in. Well, we still went a little bit. I know who Zach Light was, so I was like, fuck that, I want to go talk to him today. You know?
Yeah.
So we still went a little bit more. It was in the intermission when that happened. So then I went over to the area where you would walk through, or you know, to be able to shake people's hands or whatever. And that's when Christian walked up. And I know Christian from the WEC.
Yeah.
And then you had already talked to him about me also. And then he was like, hey, yeah, I was telling them about you. Let's go to the back. You know, I'll take. So he walked me all the way back to where Zach was. And so this is a little bit after I had talked to BR Rebney. And then so when they walked me back there, BR is back there. And so is Zach. So it just worked out perfectly right when I talked to Zach. Like, hey, like, could you get me in here? And then he kind of blew me off a little bit. I think it was just more because of
it was just busy.
It was during the fight, yeah.
It was intermission.
During the show. So he's like, yeah, like, you know, give me your number, you know, like whatever.
Give me your number. That sounds like when you're talking to a chick and you're like, I have my number. No, why don't you just give me yours and I'll throw it out when you're not looking.
Yeah, you know, like what the. So I kind of was like, oh shit, I don't know if he's gonna call me. So I was like, oh, I'll wait till after the show. But as soon as I start walking away, I look over at BR and he kind of gave me that nod, like, all right, you went after it even more, you know. And like he gave me a thumbs up, was like good job, you know. And then 2 weeks later, they called me to have the fight with Amasu, and I was like, shit, I already knew I was gonna fight this guy eventually.
And you had a camp for that, correct?
Yeah, full training camp. That was the first time I actually had a full 8 weeks to get ready for a fight, and like I said, that's all I've ever needed, a full training camp to prepare for one guy instead of 3 different opponents.
Instead of being a last-minute guy they call up.
Last minute, or like these smaller shows, you know, they're changing opponents 3 or 4 times.
And on the res, too, sometimes the judging isn't fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's anywhere.
That can be anywhere. Yeah. I think New Jersey's actually doing a new thing. Did you hear? Mm-hmm. They're going to have 3 judges cage side and 3 judges watching on the TV in a soundproof room.
Oh, nice.
To see if there's any discrepancy between the judges and the crowd. And I think it's a test first, but that's what. But I think that's a good study.
I think so too. Yeah, because I honestly believe some of these judges have earpieces listening to what's going on through their commentators, because it's almost like they're going off of what the commentators going and saying. You know, right? It's like.
They probably could hear them.
You're the judge.
Yeah, you judge. Some of these judges, I don't even know where they get them from.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, you know.
It's rough. It's part of the game, but you got to accept it.
Don't leave it up to the hands of the judges.
Don't leave it in the hands of the judges. I've been hearing that all my life, even with wrestling was don't leave it in the ref's hands.
Yeah.
Oh. So second fight, so you got this big win, Carl Masu, I would say it was one of the most exciting fights of the year. It was by round 3 comes me and Isaiah were just, and your brother were like, all right, just cheering. He's going at it. And that's really when I felt like you turned a corner in that fight, that 3rd round, because instead of like fight, you just got after it. And you're like, I'm not leaving this in the judges. They're not taking my opportunity away. You didn't stop punching. That was the most active round I've seen you to date.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything was on that, you know, on that fight for me. I didn't have a whole lot of other option, you know. Sorry, my bad.
No, you're.
I didn't have a whole another option, you know. It's like I had to win that fight, you know.
Yeah, you did, and you had to win that round too. Yeah. So it came down to it.
Yeah.
And then I think you mentally turned the corner, and then we had Karo Parisian up next, a fight that they thought Karo would come back on your name.
Yeah, and you know the thing was they were giving them to me on 3 weeks' notice, like. I think they were, you know, expecting me to kind of panic or something, because we were both scheduled on the card, but I'm not sure what happened with Zaromskis, but he was scheduled to fight Zaromskis, and then 3 weeks before the fight, they're like, and it was right on my birthday, you know, but it was weird, dude. Like a lot of crazy things happened in that training camp. On the day that I got the call, so I'm like. pumped up, like, yeah, I got the fight. And then my friend Anthony calls me, and he's like, dude, my brother-in-law, Shark, passed away. And I'm like, I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how to be happy. It's a friend, what I mean? So I'm like torn, and I'm like, So, but for me, it was just like another sign, like, life's short, dude. Take advantage of everything, like if you have the opportunity, do it. So for me, I was like, I just let my mind be clear of any worries or whatever was going to happen. Like, it's Carl Parisian. He's still a big name,
Yeah, very big name. I think he was still ranked in the top 100. And he was expected to win that fight. You were the underdog again.
Yeah, and so for me, I was like, well, let's go, and the stuff that we had before, I was like, I already had motivation to fight the guy.
You wanted to fight him. What happened before? Because
it was something like kind of it just
he was it was big time in you.
Yeah, dude. It was just one of those things that it didn't bother me so much that like he would just do that, but it was like I wasn't even going up to the guy and. If I was over there trying to bug him or whatever. You
weren't trying to be a fan. You were introduced to him.
Yeah.
And you said kind words to him.
Yeah, they're like, hey, come here. They called me over there, so I go over there. I'm like, hey, this is Carl. This is one of my up-and-comers. And he just looked at me up and down like I'm dirt, like straight up, like.
If you
even did that, like the little and looked away, but I was so close. Where it was like, it bothered me so much because I was so close to him where he knew I could have socked his ass,
Yeah.
I mean? And he didn't care. He was just like, you ain't going to do shit kind of thing,
He's like, you ain't from Glendale, so you ain't shit.
Like, it was one of those, and I was just like, oh, and I had to bite down. And
you're like, I'm not going to do anything because that's a bad idea, but I'll get you eventually.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to get paid for this one.
Yeah, and then you got him in flying colors. How did that end?
I went exactly like I thought. Eventually I was going to strike, and he was going to feel my hits, and eventually he was going to want to clinch up with me. So it was like one of those things I already knew he was going to do. And as soon as he reached in, I dropped him actually with an overhand the first time. And then the second time he reached in, I caught him with that uppercut. And then
that uppercut, it was beautiful.
Let him
Was it an uppercut hook, and then he was done?
No, it was just an uppercut, man. I just
bam.
Yeah, I caught him with the uppercut. He did like a little spin move. It fell, and then he was like turning to face me to shoot, and I threw another uppercut right as he was shooting in. Then he ended up going back, and then just I felt him when I felt him break was the elbow. I came down with a hammer fist, and he was still kind of fighting, but as soon as I hit the elbow on his temple, he just went back like, oh shit, like you're hurt, and he was scared, or something, but I could feel the
fight wasn't
that panic. That was there after that.
It gets real. It gets real in that game. It fucking gets real.
And after that I was just all right, let's go finish it.
And that was a first round finish against a 10-time UFC veteran, Olympic judo guy. So that was another big win. So we got Carl Amasu, and then we got Parisian. So we're on 2 fights now. The third fight, they throw a real badass at you in Marius Zaromskis.
Yeah.
Now, Marius Zaromskis won the Dream Tournament and was ranked top 10, like in the top 7 at one time in his career, and he was expected to beat you again.
Yeah.
You're a 3 or 4 to 1 underdog that fight.
Yeah, they call it, they my style. They kind of, especially in the last fight, they were kind of calling it like a brawling style or whatever. I am kind of a brawling style, but at the same time,
you're very technical.
I think, I'm a thinker, and one of the things that I knew with Zaromskis in that fight was he had a long ass layoff. He was like, I think 9 months.
9 months.
9 months, almost a year. In his layoff. So I was like, he's good and he's tough, but the layoff, no matter what, it doesn't matter who you are. If you have that long of a layoff as a fighter, you're going to come in where you're going to have jitters. You're going to have, that your timing's off a little bit. And you got to settle back in. And the way Zaromskis fights, I knew he was going to blitz me. He was going to try to end the fight quick.
Yeah, he did.
And so I was like, I need to have cardio. I need to be able to throw. So pretty much all that training camp was bags.
Yes, you were heavily on the bags.
Yeah, I just did a shitload of bags where I knew my cardio was going to be there for my hands and my legs. And when the fight came, it happened exactly as I thought it would. He rushed in trying to end it fast.
A lot of looping punches, and you were staying good and shelled, and you were beating them on the inside.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we just blitz, uppercut, block. I just kept blocking, and kept firing off shots and everything. But yeah, that was a fun fight, dude.
He hits hard, doesn't he? He
hits hard, but it was just more his relentlessness too. Like he didn't have that quit. I was. The guillotine, like that was another thing. I hit the guillotine and I had it deep.
Yeah.
I had it like really deep, and he fucking lifted me off the ground with his neck.
Wow.
So I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, where is he from? Lithuania?
Or something, dude. But I had the guillotine
tough
tight,
over there.
dude. And he lifted me up pretty much with his head. He just went like that, and then he stood up. So it was like all neck. Lifted my body, and I was like, oh shit.
And then you put your legs and stood up with it.
Yeah.
Talk about good timing.
Yeah, that's why I let it go. I was like,
that was veteranship right there. That was veteranship. And it ended up, all three judges gave you 30-27. You won every round, I believe. And then to beat somebody like that at their own game, just that was another one. That's number 3 on the streak. Now let's talk about fight number 4. Who was fight number 4? I forget the guy's name.
Curtis Millender.
Curtis Millender. He was like 8-1, I think, when he fought you.
Yeah.
Or 8-0.
He was 7-1, I think.
7-1.
Yeah. He had lost his last fight. He had just lost to Brandon Ward, but he was a lot of people didn't know who he was, but he's an up and comer.
He was a weird fighter.
Yeah, he's training at Mark Munoz's gym, but and he had also been out of Mayweather gym in
all right,
Vegas.
TM team, the money.
So that's
team.
a lot of that. Yeah, a lot of that running around, moving, and stick and move, and that didn't bother me. I like once I knew he was from that camp, I kind of had an idea of what his style was going to be, and the style makes fights, and honestly, like with him, everybody was like, "Oh, at least on the commentating, they were saying that he was beating me with his striking."
He was only just kicking your knee.
Yeah,
just dirty shot in your knee. I mean, it's legal, but that's just fucked up.
But I was like, for me, I was like, no, dude, because for him, I was keeping the outside range. I was trying to keep the distance.
Yeah, and you were chasing. You had the ring general and shit.
Yeah, I would blitz when I needed to, and then I would get back all the way. So all the way in or all the way out. And where normally they see me, I'm just going forward, But with somebody that long, I can't blitz him because then he can counter me good. He's got the reach.
And he was doing a good job with that kick on your knee, the straight kick to the knee.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a dirty move.
Yeah, but with him, I knew get in, get out, and just keep enough pressure where I knew he was gonna run. So it was eventually just keep enough pressure where it constantly made him work, and he never stopped running.
Yes.
And then
he was gassing too.
After on the second, I felt him slowing down. He was already starting to push, and then that's when I went in for the inside leg sweep, just like I caught him in the third. I went for the inside leg sweep, and he happened to throw a knee at the same time. That's when I fell, and then ended up on this dragging on a single, and he spun out and got away. But I was going for that same trip that I got in the third. I was doing that in the second.
And the fight ended in the third with guillotine.
Yeah. As soon as I felt him on the third round, at the end of the second, I felt him starting to slow down completely. He was pushing a lot, so I already knew he was exhausted.
Done.
So in the third, I waited a little bit, pressured. As soon as I came in close, I felt him push. The next one was come in, block, kick that inside leg out, and then he fell right into the guillotine.
Yeah, he did. And then it was funny because me and Isaiah looked at each other. You're like, he's got it. Yeah. He has got it. Yeah. And then that is the 4-fight win streak that you have in Bellator. One thing I want to stress upon is, why don't you have a title shot? Right here, I'm starting to rally. Hashtag Fernando for the Bellator title. There is nobody who put on a streak more than this man. Nobody who's overcome adversity than this man. Fernando, who should you be fighting for the title? Who's the title holder? It's not Lima anymore, is it?
No, it's Koreshkov, the Spartan, Alex Spartan Koreshkov. That's who I want to fight. That's who I think I should be fighting. But if not, after the last fight that we put on me and Daly, I think that should be number one contender, if anything.
You should. So you and Daly had a kickboxing match in the Bellator's debut Dynamite card. It was a Glory Bellator card, which is really thinking outside of the box. It was a good card.
Yeah.
You were the co-main event for the Glory card.
Yeah.
And you kickboxed Paul Daly.
Yeah.
Now, it went to a decision, and I think the judges had it a little wrong. They gave Daly the decision, but I thought you won at least 2 of the 3 rounds.
I thought so too. I mean, he threw more kicks in the first. I came in, so I still would have gave him that first round just because he threw a little more kicks. But in the second, I was backing him up and landing more shots, cleaner shots. He's still landing some kicks, but nothing.
He just had slaps that were blocked.
Yeah, because none of them did damage where I was like, wobbling or nothing. I didn't feel
they
anything.
were slapping your elbows, I mean, you had a good challenge. You were landing clean shots, and then round 3, you laid it on them. I don't know how that one judge even gave him round 3.
Yeah, I don't know,
but that's kickboxing.
That's
too.
the game.
That has nothing to do with your MMA. It should be you and Paul Daly for the number 1 contender.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, if they don't give me, honestly, like you said, I think I won the fight too. But if anything, if they see it as some people see him win or me, let's do MMA and get in there and fight for number 1 contender.
Yeah, because kickboxing's just for fun for MMA fighters. Yeah. Just like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, kickboxing. Yeah. This is your main concern is MMA.
MMA. Yeah.
MMA is your main concern. So it's kickboxing. You did that for fun.
Yep.
And it looked like you had a good time.
Yeah, sure, it was fun.
Yeah, you and Paul Daly were all smiles after the fight, and that was, and he's a highly touted kickboxer. So to see that level of respect, for each other, what do you think of Paul Daly?
He does exactly what he needs to do. He sells a fight good, so he's gonna say the things that he needs to do to pump up a fight, but. In the back, he's a real cool guy.
Real respectful.
Real respectful, and I have nothing bad to say about him other than, enjoyed enjoyed fighting him and mixing it up with him, and I want to do it again.
Yeah, and that's you. That's supposed to be his game, but that's still. I think that's your game too. The kickboxing.
Yeah. They just don't know that.
They just don't know because you've just been doing this MMA stuff.
Yep.
Now you want to get into boxing as well.
Yeah, I actually just signed with a new management with Nima Sefapur, and
very good manager. Virgil Zwicker's with him. Vince is with him.
Yeah.
There's another guy who's with them too. Was the Shamal Kalmarous or? Yeah, he was with him. I've heard nothing but good things about Nima. Yeah,
he's already getting the ball rolling. So we're working on renegotiating my new contract and seeing who we're fighting next. But man, he actually I spoke with him over we were going over the contract and stuff, and it said for MMA. But I was like, hey, I just fought a kickboxing match. If they offered me another good kickboxing match where it's good pay.
Yeah,
I'll do it. If they offer me a boxing, which I really want to do, other than just these 2, I want to do all of them: boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. I want to get in there and have fun while I can. And he's like, dude, I'm all for that. He's like, I could
keep you doing them all.
He's like, I can sell that. So he was pumped on that. But I guess he's got hookups too with boxing. So. More likely see me in the future doing some boxing matches too.
That'd be great. I honestly think you would do better in boxing than kickboxing. Although I think you're a very good kickboxer. It's funny, the first time we met, not the first time we met, I remember, the first time we met was at the gym, just sitting on the side, just, who are you? What's going on? Oh, I'm this, and this. And I'm like, I'm this, and this. And then we both kind of saw that we were kind of in the same boat with fights, having trouble finding fights. And ups and downs of the career. But I remember you had your kickboxing fight, and I came out to just watch. I was like, oh, I want to come see you. I think it was my second week out here.
Yeah.
And then I showed up with Isaiah, and you're like, hey, you want to hop in the corner?
Yeah.
And then I was like, really? I get to hop in the corner for you? I was like, really? We just met.
Yeah.
And it was cool. And you beat, you won the WBC kickboxing title.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I noticed, is, I'm sure you know this too. I mean, you need people that can be chill and be relaxed in the back,
Yes.
And that makes a big difference. And I already kind of, you're not all crazy and going wild. So
No.
I was like, all right, he'd be perfect if he'd want to help me.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, it's an honor. I was so stoked. I was like, where's everybody else? Where's this? You're like, this is it.
I'm like, they're nuts, dude. No,
they didn't make it. Now everybody's out in full support, full throttle of supporting you because you've shown improved, man. You've shown improved.
Well, I think we all are. I think we're all progressing. Honestly, I think with just most of us were strikers coming into that place, but now like you guys are coming in and you guys are getting good too.
Yeah, we're trying.
I think we're all just getting better, and
as a team,
and we're just gonna be tearing it up.
How long have you been with Team Quest? I've been there about a little over 4 years now.
I'm going on, I think 10 years now. I've been there 10 years.
You said you came with Art Santor brought you in?
I first started with Dan, so it was like when I was there, I had been there full time. It's been 10 years, but before then I was in and out. They used to train out of the Temecula High School gym.
Okay.
And that's where Art used to take me to there.
So you were there from the beginning?
Yeah, from the beginning. When they're in the high school, Bo and all those guys. And then when they opened the new gym, because actually when I was at training with Chris Brennan, that was my after Tom Kenny. Chris Brennan was my trainer for like 4 years. That's where I really got my jiu-jitsu style from. And Danny said they were gonna be training together out of that gym, but they wanted to call it. Chris wanted to keep it at Next Generation. Dan's like, I already got Team Quest going, so yeah, that never ended up happening. But I got to train with them there too, and that was.
And it was because you guys, in that time, it was like you guys were the fighters in that area, so you all had to meet up somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
To fight the guys in the other areas. And what was it like back then, in the early days of the California fight scene?
It was, for me, it was kind of, a lot of people built their records. They wanted to pad their records. But for me, it was always, I wanted to fight the tougher guys because I wanted to have the experience for when I did get to the UFC. You have 10 fights in a row and you beat nobodies or guys that can't fight. You're fighting guys, that they're probably picking from the stands. A lot of that happens.
It happens a lot.
And so you're not getting the experience that you need. So once you have 10 in a row, they're like, oh, you're in the UFC. You're gonna get whipped pretty quick. You might win your first two.
Now you're fighting back in that day, Josh Koscheck.
Yeah,
and you're just making him look good.
Yeah, and so for me, it was never about that. I always wanted to get better. I always wanted to get good and fight good guys, and I pretty much did that from the beginning. Almost every single guy that I fought were tough guys. And, there was a little bit of a time where I wasn't even getting fights just because some of those guys didn't want to fight because they were trying to pad their record to move up, and you can't blame them. You're trying to go up, and if you're gonna fight tough fights, you want to be getting paid good money for them.
Yeah, some people do it just to be cool.
Yeah.
Like in all honesty, get the wins and be cool. And I personally think that's not cool, but you're gonna find that with everything.
But and so that kind of hurt me at the end because after a while I had so many fights that guys didn't want to fight me no more because I didn't have enough.
It wasn't worth it at the time.
Yeah, it's like they knew it was a tough fight and it wasn't a big name and they weren't getting paid anything, so it didn't make sense for them to take a fight with somebody like that.
Your stock wasn't as high as your skill at the time.
So it was that time was really, really frustrating. It wasn't until the guys from West Coast Fighting Championship came out and they were having some guys on the Bellator card, and they stopped by the old gym, and I was mopping the mats and doing my paying for my membership, basically just mopping and doing how to do.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I was cleaning the gym, and the guys came in. They're like, "Hey, who's the fighter?" Well, I was like, "I fight." It's just there's a lot of good fighters out of here. It's just none of us know any shows out that way. And they're like, "Oh, we throw a big show out there."
And that is a pretty big local show.
Is, yeah.
I see them advertising all the time.
Yeah, and so after that, I called them up, and it was like 3 weeks notice or something like that to fight Max Griffin. And this was before we got into Bellator, and it was a 5-round fight on 3 weeks notice, but I had already had a 5-round fight, so I knew the feeling.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, you know what, let's do it. And that was probably one of the funnest fights I've had in my career. It was back and forth, but it was because it was so back and forth that I had so much fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in it. Yeah, fighting, you should be doing it if you enjoy it. I think he's fighting for the West Coast Fighting Championship belt.
Yeah, he's still the 170 champion, I believe.
Yeah. He's fighting again in their next card, so he's still there.
Yeah.
And now a lot of shows are on. Indian Res is out here, and
yeah. Well, like we talked about 3 years ago, we're on top of the San Isabel Hill.
Yes.
Where it's nice little spot out here, California. San Isabel. It's in the back part of San Diego, and
it closed down the casino.
Yeah.
We were. It's funny because before that you fought on Strike Force.
Yeah.
The Strike Force card, and I had the M1 on Showtime, and then it was like me and you had to start from the beginning again.
Yeah,
so we had to go fight in the mountains.
That one sucked too because I was out. That was on 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah, I know.
And I was not. And that's kind of how we had the falling out with Cheney. Because I was like, dude, he gave up my other fights for the because I had
a little bit of jealousy.
Yeah, but it was just, dude. I was like, man, this is my MMA career. That's what I'm about, And he gave away those 2 other fights, and I was like, I would have had 2 more fights with Strikeforce.
So he gave them away.
I was like,
I know you were guaranteed. You did a favor, so you were guaranteed your fight. So that happens a lot in this game too. I see that people giving away fights or I
still felt I won that fight.
Making something personal. Yeah, I thought you did too. I believe that guy's in the UFC or was.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Eddie Mendez.
He's still in the UFC, I think. He was an 85er.
Yeah, 185.
Okay, maybe Sam could take care of him now.
There you go.
There we go.
I'll go back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go back up.
Yeah,
let's have a full training camp.
Let's shoot. I thought you won that one too. But it's like this story of the career.
Yeah, But
sometimes you got to be a little bit lucky in this game.
You got to take the risk.
There is a luck factor.
You got to take the risk. If I didn't take that risk, another thing too is, being off 2 weeks notice, plus knowing that I didn't, have the full cardio for that fight, that messes with your mind. But it was the first time I ever been on a big show like that too. So it was like that starstruck kind of thing or under the lights thing that kind of like messed with me a little bit too.
It's rough having a camera follow. You're walking out and the camera's right here the whole time as you're walking.
Yeah, so it's like from being on a small show and no one's paying any attention to having a camera right in your face, threw me off. But even then I still gave a good show. Yeah, I thought I won the fight, but it didn't go my way. But dude, honestly, had that not happened, I all this stuff with Bellator made it way more easier because I was like, I already been on a big stage when we started off at Pechanga,
Yeah.
So it's like that big ramp, that big everything is like crazy compared to where we're at in Pechanga. And then so then I got the experience fighting these tough guys on this small venue, and now we did this last show where we had the big stage, and it didn't bother me at all, dude. I felt comfortable.
Which was a heck of a stage. Now but you also fought in the WEC, wasn't that a big time promotion?
Yeah, but it was the same. It was like it was at the Joint, so it was a small. It was like a small venue.
It was right before it turned its corner on Versus, or was it on Versus?
It was on Versus the whole time.
It just still wasn't like up to Strikeforce caliber at nowadays or back then.
No, it was just it was still. It was the beginning of like when Strikeforce first began.
Yes.
It was like that. Strikeforce Challengers.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that when I was in the WEC, and then later on they blew it up to what it was.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was Razor Rod McCullough was a champion.
Right. I remember, and then everybody's like, that guy's never going to lose.
Yeah.
And then Jamie Varner took care of him.
Yeah, he caught him with that cross.
Yeah, he did after a few mouthpiece spit outs.
Yeah.
Hold on, I need a breather. Hey, if it works, he got himself a knockout.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You ain't trying. That's true. You ever have anybody scratch you in a fight?
Scratch, pantsed.
You got pants?
Yeah, headbutted. I got pants like 3 times in that fight. The one over in Sacramento. My last fight that I lost, I fought against what's his name? Freaking. He's out of Alpha Male. Mitchell, David Mitchell.
Yeah. Okay.
He's just like kept hitting me, then freaking pulling my shorts down. I was like, you fucker.
You asshole.
Yeah, and then he freaking wedged me, everything, dude. He went to town. I was like, this fool is dirty.
I've gotten scratched before, like a lot, like just down. I had like marks, like a tiger attacked me after a fight in M1.
Yeah.
Guy would get me against the ropes and scratched. Also got soccer kicked on my first fight 4 times.
Oof.
I took a bad shot and I got soccer kicked 4 times. Then I remember I was just fighting at that point. I didn't care about the judges or anything.
Yeah.
I remember having his neck on the rope, and I grabbed right here, the rope on the inside, and I just laid it. The ropes were here on his neck, and I was just...
His throat.
I made it look like I fell over it, and I was getting like, oh, you motherfucker, take this for soccer kicking me. Which I didn't even know was illegal at the time.
Yeah.
They brought me to the corner. I'm like, why'd you stop the fight? I'm doing good. His foot's bleeding.
Yeah.
And then I realized that's my blood and my teeth are loose.
Yeah.
The good old days, man.
Oh yeah.
My first fight was in a college, Jersey City College, like with bleachers and stuff. Man, the sport has come a long way from the beginning.
Long way, dude. Long way. Yeah, mine was WEC at over in Lemoore. That's when they were doing them up north. Nice. Before they had got signed up with the with Zuffa.
Oh, okay. But they just started being on Versus.
No, at the time they were on HDNet when I was fighting for them.
And HDNet became Axis.
Yeah.
I fought on HDNet before. The fight, Christoph got kicked too much in the balls. It's 4 balls.
Knees.
Yeah. Oh, it was like every 2 seconds he was getting kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fought on that card. It was HDNet.
Yeah, I remember you. I remember seeing you on that. That was the first time I saw you.
Yeah, that's funny.
I was like, yeah, I saw you on TV.
You're like, oh, guy who's fighting the Gracie.
I remember that.
That's what Harper said to me, too. He's like, I remember you. I was cheering against you because I was just, for some reason, anti-Gracie. It's nice to see the Americans do well at something.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about, before we end this, your new brand. Let's talk about what Fernando's got going on besides fight. Let's go into brand, and I also got something else I want to touch upon. Yeah. So let's go into your brand.
Active Star. I just started that up, just for this fight, and I like to make things simple on myself. So it's like if I know I'm in control of what I'm wearing and what I'm putting on. Makes it a lot easier, I don't like people telling me what to do. A lot of people don't realize it's a pain to work with some of these companies. They're not making life easy for the fighter. It's hard enough to eat right, train it twice a day or 3 times a day, work our jobs, take care of family. Sometimes we got to make sure tickets are in order. It's hard to do, and sometimes clothing companies or sponsors are not making it easier. Yeah, no, I respect everything they did for me and they've helped me with and stuff like that. So I can't really badmouth. I just got to a point where it's like I need to do something for myself. I'm in the position where I can now, and I might as well just start my own thing and if anything, at least for myself, just make sure all my gear's taken care of.
I'm not talking about one in general. I'm just saying sometimes bunch of these companies make it a little bit difficult for the fighters, and just because they're not fighters, so they don't know what we're going through. They kind of know, but you don't know till you do it.
And you know, we're not, for the most part, most of us aren't, you know, big on the social media. You know, we're just kind of getting into that. You know, it's like I'm just learning that. You know, it's like what, you know, like
I just started texting.
Yeah, I'm like learning how to type with my fingers over here. You know,
I'm like, look at my sweet Casio. It's got a light app.
You know,
like technology.
Yeah, you know. So I mean, I'm not really big on that. I'm like you said, we're training. You know, so that's my life. That's our life. You know, we just get in there, train, come home, eat, rest, and
you got a family.
Yeah,
you got a family.
We gotta make time for, you know, for them too. You know, so it makes it rough. But I'm just happy that I was finally able to start it up, and
I like it. Yeah. It's a good brand.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, hopefully soon enough, my next fight or something, I'll be coming out with my shorts and stuff like that.
Nice.
And have
I'll be rocking a pair. On the Tomcast, we love Active Star.
Yeah.
Now you got a family. You got a son?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little Xavier, 9 years old.
Yeah, he's 9. He's almost 10. He's freaking giant, dude. He's so tall. Giant. He's so tall. It's crazy, dude, because when we went up to the fight, I remember seeing him, and then when he was up there, it was, a day or two?
Yeah.
And he already grew like an inch or so. I was like, what the hell? Like,
I just went away.
I was like, he was here. You know, and it was only like, a day or two or something like that that I hadn't seen him. But, yeah, he shot up quick. And even my Leanne, my sister, they're like, he got taller. I was like, yeah. I was like, hell yeah. So, yeah, he's shooting up quick, and you know, I'm happy, man. He's starting to train now too, and
he's finally getting into it.
Yeah, well, all his little buddies, you know, they're all playing football, they're rough housing, so he's getting into the, you know, like getting all rough and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I'm all pumped on that. Right
the testosterone's starting to kick in.
He's getting in there, so he wants to play football, but you know, I wanna you know, train with him a little bit and just kind of build up his strength.
At least, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, he's a good kid.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, yes. Now, is it hard being a father and a fighter at the same time, or?
Honestly, before it was harder because the money wasn't there, but the time's always been there. You know, that's one thing I love about this, and it's another reason why it's really hard for me to get away from it. I have a lot more time to spend time with him and my girl, so. The fighting aspect is like we're broke, but you have a lot more time to do things, you know. So that's another big thing that I've always loved about the things that we do. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and more now that we're being taken care of with Bellator and stuff like that. So now that we have, you know, a good base basically as far as money wise coming through.
Yes.
It's so much more funner to be able to.
It's nice to be secure and still be able to raise your kid.
That, and before it was like I couldn't get him the things that he wanted, like when he wanted to get a snack, or you know, if it didn't fit in the budget, you can't get it, you know. And it sucks to say that to your son, you know. So we work our asses off to be able to provide for them, and then it's like, sorry, you can't have that, you know. So that was always hard, and you know, so but now it's, you know, I mean, it's still a little rough. We're still, you know, paycheck to paycheck, you know, from this one to the next fight.
Of course.
We have a little bit where we can still. You know,
and you're building your gym up now too.
Yeah. So we're building out the gym and then getting that going. Pretty much all family. I got all my nieces and nephews coming in. So.
So you're just.
I'm always packed, you know. So it's cool, dude. We have a lot of family coming in, and I'm actually happy with that because for me, it's like, you know, time's gonna go fast. So in like 10 years or something like that, they're gonna be good. Yeah. They're gonna be real good and big. Yeah. So I think we could eventually make this like a family business too. You know, just if they all learn, you know, they're striking in the ground, then we can just kind of branch out and do our own little gyms and stuff.
That's Gonzalez MMA.
Gonzalez Fighting System.
GFC.
Yeah, GFS.
GFS. No, the C is for systems. GFC for systems. So, all right, we're gonna wrap things up. Any sponsors you want to shout out? First of all, where can we get ActiveStar?
We're setting up a PayPal on my Facebook page that we'll be able to get them through. You can actually, we have some now that you can just log in and just, hit me up a message or anything like that. Shirts are $20. So, thanks ActiveStar and, Heritage Tattoo, Esparza Plastering.
You need to look at the back.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. R&R Roofing, Team Quest, Booster, and Nutrition Zone.
And where can we find you? There, we got
Thank
it.
you.
Where can we find you? We got a Facebook page?
Fernando Gonzalez. My fan page is Fernando, the Menifee Maniac Gonzalez.
Do we got Twitter yet?
On Twitter, it's at Menifee Maniac 44.
At Menifee Maniac 44, and we Instagramming too.
Instagram is the Menifee Maniac.
See, figures we're not so the Menifee Maniac. Say, like you said, we're just new to this whole social media thing.
We're just starting.
It's been awesome to have you, Fernando. And guys, check out the Tomcast. We're looking for sponsors. Hit me up if you're interested in sponsoring a show, or if you're interested in me coming out and teaching a seminar or anything, or Fernando teaching a seminar. Hit me up. We're branching out. We're coming. Thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you.